speaking from my past role with Doctors Without Borders, MSF, see, we are a humanitarian organization. We are not a development agency. We are, in most places, we are there because everything else has failed. We are there because politicians haven't been able to make true on their commitments. The international community has not been able to build peace or build the appropriate response. We are there. In fact, our presence is emblematic of a huge failure in everything. So we are there because everything else is broken. So you have to, and of course, yes, development assistance is meant to build systems, but we also need to have the staying power. If you give them funding for a country for 3 or 4 years and then you change your priorities, international community and the bilateral funding, very often we have attention deficit disorders where we don't stay with certain commitments, we change our priorities every too often, these governments also respond to that. They're willing to put in effort and money when they're not sure of the commitment of donors. One good example is the Global Fund, I would say, in spite of all the criticisms that you can level against the Global Fund for, to fight HIV, AIDS, malaria, what they've done is they have brought some predictability to funding flows. As a result, in the last decade, we've been able to put 12 million patients on HIV treatment, right? So this is a good example where ministries of health, initially there was a lot of resistance to sort of get anything, to change anything in countries, but the moment they realized that the funding flows are going to be steady and they can plan on the basis of that, then you started seeing change. Ministries of health changed their structure a little bit. They were able to put more and more patients on treatment. In the year 2000, there was not a single patient on publicly funded HIV care. And today you have South Africa guaranteeing free treatment for every single HIV patient. So changes happen. So in fact, in the last decade, you can call it the golden decade for global health. And that came across because of several reasons. One, there was a global commitment, money was put in. Second, generic companies came together and bought the price of ARV treatment from $10,500 per person per year to less than $100 per person per year. Now it was possible for ministries of health to buy medicines and to provide it for patients, right? And then, so there are many different elements came together to make these changes possible. But now it's all under threat. There is a real risk that these trade policies that are being negotiated are going to go back on and make, they put a lot of pressure on companies so that the prices of drugs will go up. The financial crisis that we had a few years ago has led countries to decrease their commitments, and many of the patients who were on treatment now have to transition to second-line, third-line treatment, which are far more expensive than what it was in the past, right? So many reasons that we should be worried about the gains that we achieved in the last decade or so are at risk of being, we're going to lose the momentum if we don't stick with it. So that's why, when I talk about staying power and stamina, we have to have the will to see certain things through. And very often that's not the case when it comes to development issues.